Right then, so today we're going to do something, or we're going to look at something technical, because I've been working on something for one of my clients the last couple of days, and I thought, do you know what, this is something that you might want to know how to do, because it is quite technical. So we're going to do some technical stuff in here. We're going to try and do it quickly, so we'll see. And that technical stuff is exhibition spaces. Right, so I'm just going to create very quickly in Illustrator a document so we can set out some parameters just here. So I'm going to go ahead and make that big, like so. So we'll do exhibition stand here, like so, and we're going to go with 3 meters, okay, by 2 meters. So it's a very tiny one, little booth. Okay. In this, there are, for this scenario, we will say these are single panel stands, and so you have 1 meter, 1000 millimeter, and 850 millimeter units. Okay, now the stand depth is 25 millimeters. Right, so you'll have those things. So that's no more than that. Be 75 millimeters. Hello, this is the thing. 75 millimeters onto there. So they're that thick to stand. Okay, so the stand depth is 75 millimeters, so that you need 2 of these things. If you're building a box shape, so the back will be 75, and then you've got the sides. So that's why you have 850 millimeter units. They are. Let's put wide on there, and 2250, like that. So we have to build something out of that. So if we want, we're doing a show that's 3000 by 2000 millimeters wide. That means we're going to need 3 panels at the back, 3000 millimeter panels at the back, and then we're going to need 2 850s to soak up the width there. Very good. So that's the scenario we are going to go with. I'll keep that there, right, because it'll be handy, okay, for us to see. But are we going to make the artwork up? Let's pretend we're going to do a continuous background. For these things we've got to do separate, and all the units. So let's do all units artwork is done at 25%. Okay, size, and let's say 400 ppi in there. Okay, if you've got images and stuff, because you're making it smaller, it's going to be bigger. So you get a smaller file, but it's going to be enlarged slightly. It's still calculation for the dots. 400 is kind of okay, and all unit artwork 400. All unit artwork. Okay, so each thing's got to be a separate piece of artwork. So how to do, and what am I missing off of there? Bleed, because we need the bleed. 25 millimeters, so a whole full inch. There we go. That's our spec. Nice. That's everything there. So let's go ahead then and create the back. Let's create the back of this thing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new document just here, and this is going to be, so let's type in 3000. Now I know I need to do it at 25%, so divided by 4. Okay, millimeters is the unit I'm using there, so I'm tabbing through, and then they are 2250 high, divided by 4, yeah, to keep the proportions good, just there. Bleed, and we'll just drop 25 millimeters all round. There we go. This is going to be CMYK. Raster effects, there is going to be something other than that. Now we'll have to go into the DRes to change that, because you'll see it only gives us these base options, right? So let's create from there. So there's our 3 meter, okay, by a 2 meter stand. Why does that look so weird? Because you know what I haven't done? Let's see if the observant amongst you in the chat can see where the error is in this. it's the bleed, right? I've done 25 millimeters. It's scaled down, so divided by 4, 6.5 or 6.25, all the way around. There we go. That's what went wrong. So that was the first thing I saw there, is the bleed was massive. Okay, so there we are. So you've got something like that. That's all good. Before I go anywhere with it, I'm going to go to the DRes. So effect, document raster effect settings, or DRes if you like me and cool. Other 400. Okay, so you can do it. It's just it only gives you these base options just here to start off with. But sometimes you will need more, especially if you've got lots of line stuff there, and how it's going to generate the images from there. That's all fine. Okay, I'm going to leave everything else pretty much as it is for now. So the back is going to be made of 3 1 meter units. Okay, sorry, one 1 meter unit and 2 850s. Right, so that's where we're going to need to go just there to start off with. And in fact, I've screwed up my calculation for that. Not too much of a problem. So a quick calculation. If I do 3,000 just here, I'll do 1,000 plus, I'm just showing you, 1,700, right? I know it's going to be 2,700. Oops. There you go. So 2 850s, 2,700. But it's just handy to see that you can quickly calculate those. So we'll do a quick adjustment on the document. So document setup, just here, so we can edit the artboard if we want to. And for the width, we'll do 2,700 divided by 4. There we go. And now we've got that size less the amount for the widths to go down. Or I could do it from the sides. In fact, we'll do it from the sides. Let's go with the 3 that we've got there. Right, so first thing I tend to do is establish some guides. I'm just switching into draw behind mode, Shift D to do that, and then adding a new layer like that. That's interesting that it didn't add it above. Let's find out what's going on. Oh, draw behind. But dropping it down the bottom, I'm not doing it that way this time because I'm not tracing, so we'll switch back to that. We'll call this guides, like so. Okay, and then we can start to bring in some guides. Now you could use the rulers for this, not going to. Okay, I'm simply going to use the line tool here. So backslash to do that. Then I'm going to draw a line through the bleed like so. And then of course I want to position it from here. I'm going to go for the center just there. Now just to show you, if I take it to the 0 point, it's going to take it over to the side of the document. Of course I don't want it to be 0. Okay, I want it to be 1,000 millimeters. Let's pretend we couldn't divide that into 250, because you're going to always need to calculate your things that way. Right. So if it was a unit like 1,200 or something, you were thinking all these numbers through, right, you can do that and divide it up like so. Once I've done that, I'm going to get that and drag a copy. I happen to know that this is with reasonable amount of certainty, right, that's going to be 500 to go across there. Once I've got those two things together, I can either make them into guides, which I'm going to, Command 5 to do that, or View Guides, Make Guides. And then I've got some guides that I can turn on and off like so. Additionally, sometimes if I'm designing something more or less on the artboard itself, I'll create myself an RO3 layer. Right, so I might create myself like a rule of thirds to help me with composition when I'm putting things together. And the way I tend to do that is I draw a rectangle from corner to corner, making sure that the smart guides are giving me the information I want, right, telling me that it's in the right place. And then path, split into grid. And so for this, I'd want 3 and 3 in the columns there, like so. Make sure there's 0 in the gutters. Perfect. And then Command 5 for that as well, which gives me my handy rule of thirds grid. There you go, nicely divided up like so. So if I need to for composition, I can just engage that grid whenever I want. Handy stuff. Right, he says, keeping an eye on the timer. Right, let's go ahead and put some artwork onto one of these things. So we're just going to mess around and put some stuff. So I need to go into the bleed here to create the background. And let's make that a gradient, and let's make it so tapping the period key on the keyboard to do that, just in case you didn't know. And then we'll go ahead and make something fun. So let's go with that. And let's go with a nice orange on the outside. Ooh, that would have been better the other way around. There we are, nice. So I'm going to go ahead and make this more elliptical. And also going to make it nice and big. And because it's kind of bright, which is good. There we go, something like that. Nice. In fact, let's pop another colour on the outside of that. Let's go ahead and double click that one. Switch into that. I pretend to use HSB. It's so good that now that this is sticky and keeps all of that good stuff going on. Just there, so that's kind of nice. There we are, something like that. So we'll pretend that's what we're after this time. Then we'll create some type. Let's do that. Let's go for something slabby. That'll do. I like it. That'll do. Let's center that. Now, here's the thing, and this happens a lot, and this is where Astute Graphics save my life on a weekly basis, right, is because if so the point around which this text is emanating from, so there it is, bit of point text there, just there. If I realign that, it's the point that gets realigned, right? The text, or sorry, the point stays where it is, the text realigns in relation to the point. So if I click center here or use Shift Command C to center that, you can see the text moves so that it's emanating from that point. But what about if you've put it all in place and you don't want to mess with it? Well, that's where First Aid, Vector First Aid from Astute Graphics makes it really easy, because if you click center, it aligns the point to the text. The point still behaves exactly the way that it normally would, but that is a really, really handy way to do it. Let's go ahead then and make that big, like so. This was an event that at one point was nearly a reality. Text to vector graphics. You can see this has got a few other little bits inside of it now. Colourful ship, space rocket, as if I'd search for something like that. Yeah, let's do it. Go ahead and do that. I can catch up with you in the chat. That's kind of actually not bad. Look at that. Let's have a look at a couple of these variations. See, well, that's me out of a job. I spent most of my life drawing rockets. So, business, there we go. That's kind of a nice size banner for that. So we've got that. We've got a back panel, which is good. Now let's make another one. The side panels. One of the side panels here. Okay, stupid technology. Let's do another one. So we'll do this from scratch. Muscle memory there was going to kick in. So this time it will be 1,850. So 1850. Okay, divided by 4. Okay, because remember it needs that. The height is still what it is, right? So that can stay exactly as it is, just there. So there we go. That's one of our panels. So what we could do here is do exactly the same thing as before. Add a layer, call that guides. I don't tend not to use the rule of thirds so much on the side panels, although I could. It's still a good scheme for doing it. And again, this is just going to be one single line that goes right the way through the bleed, all the way down. And just in case, right, so let's just set the X location here to 1,000 divided by 4. There we go, like so. So now we can see that guide in there. So I'm going to turn that into a guide. And just in case you don't want to turn yours into a guide, you want to keep it as artwork. If you're putting a guides layer on and you think you might accidentally leave it on when you're generating the output for the end, you can always go into the layer options and turn off print. That means it won't take part in any print operation, which includes making images. That is a print operation. Making a PDF is a print operation. Yeah, so don't think of it in terms of physical media all the time. It's actually a digital thing as well. So if you do that, it becomes a non-printing layer. So how do we check then that we've got these things right, that this is the right balance between those two things? Well, one way you could do it is to create a rectangle, okay, and you could do 1000 divided by 4, just there. The height is the height, so we've got that already. It's the width that we're interested in. I'm just swapping those out and then just dropping that over to the left hand side. You can see it's meeting that guide, so we now know that that's correct for there. I'm not going to waste that rectangle, however, but I am going to put it on a different layer. So at the moment it's up on my guides layer, which I'm so keen on chatting about that I didn't lock it. Let's have a quick catch up with the chat. So we're going to keep these panels here on the side. Let's take those. See, I just did it to the top of the document. Now you can, okay, do it to artboard like so, and then you could add in the bleed afterwards, but I need to make sure that goes right the way across both things, just here. So let's get right into that bleed, like so. Okay, that's good. Right, we're also going to need to do one on the right hand side. So what we can do is we can do a save as, just here on this particular file, right, and we'll call this one stand right wing. So just, there we go. Or wing right, I prefer, because that way doesn't sound political. Then I would go ahead for my guides just here and change that guide over. Now my guides are not locked at the minute, so what I can do here is do 850 divided by 4 for the X location, and there we are. Now we've got it the right way around, so we know which way is which on there. Let's lock that up. Now let's find a way to distinguish between the two, and in fact I'm going to go ahead and open the other wing just for a minute. So let's just get that up from here, and just give me a sec. And I'm hitting Command N in all the wrong places. But there you go. Let's do another window here and go into here. Bear with me a sec. So we've got all three of those open. So what I'm going to do here is, so we can differentiate between the two, I'm going to drop in a piece of text. Let's get it from the back panel just here, and we'll just drop that on like so, change the color of it. In fact, I prefer to just get rid of the fill to start off with and then add a new one, because I can make lots of changes as well. For the moment though, we'll just create a big thing here like L. There we go. Nice. So we can drop that there, because of course we're not making a real graphic, but there we go. That's good. And now we've got that there. We can select both of those and copy them. Oh, that's the right hand side. No, not to worry. I'm just pasting in place just there, because this is the right hand side, but it's easy to change because all I need to do is replace that with an R. Nice. At the same time, you're going to need to probably put together something for your client so they can have a look at the whole stand laid out all nice and flat. You might also want to you do something in Photoshop, for example, where you can actually show it in sort of fake 3D. We'll perhaps cover that next week, unless we get time today, in which case we'll do it. But let's cover the bit of actually putting together a document for your client, okay, that you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new file just here. So maybe, right, they have like an A4 document in landscape. Yeah, it kind of makes sense to do that you can send to them as a PDF. So we're going to hit create. So here's our document. This is going to be the stand bit just here. I'm just going to paste down, or I was going to paste down some of that text, but that's way too big. Let's just grab this bit again, which is also going to be big, but I'm going to make it small. There we go, and cut that to the clipboard, and then pop that into here. There we go, and down to the end. Let's pop a title up the top. That's kind of a good idea, right? So people know what it is. Da, 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 da. I'm making sure I'm caught up on there, which I am. Now we've got that, so we want to start putting together, making this dynamic really as much as possible. So I'm just going to call this a stand Prezzo, just there, like so. We'll call it that for the minute. Not really a presentation, but there we go. I'm going to need to retrieve that every now and then. Then what I'm going to do is use the place command, so Shift Command P in Illustrator. I'm going to grab back panels just here. I'm also going to grab the left and the right hand side, like so, and then just show the import options. That bit's important, right? And it's just telling me that one of the files is there that it's not saved, and that's the back panel, but I'm going to continue the operation anyway. I'm actually going to size it to the art, right, for this one. That way it'll ignore the bleed, right? It will just be the art. So if I hit OK for that, same for that, same for that, then I'm going to place these at size. Okay, and I'll select all of those things just there. Let's zoom out, and I'm going to resize them this way. There we go. And get them to the size I want them to be. So I'm kind of imagining how it's going to look with all of those things together. So there's my right hand side. Oops. There's my left hand side. And what I do then is I select all three of those, click on the middle one to make it a key object, because then I can go align top and they'll all align to the top of that. I can then go into the further options here and put a value into distribute spacing and set it at 0, and then do that, and then everything moves out to the sides like so, and then it can be just repositioned as a single unit there, and the smart guys show me when it's in the center. So you get to do a preview like that, okay, and then you might want to add in some extra information. So you're going to see how that's going to work as we go. In fact, how are we doing? We're doing pretty good actually. So I might actually move to that thing. So you see how that's working. If I make any changes in here, so let's go to this back panel here, and let's start to build this out a little bit. So, oops, and resize. Not quite enough of an angle. Just a tiny bit more. There we go. I like the capitals at the minute. And get rid of that comment. There we go. Actually, that looks like a date, so I'm going to expand on that. And let's just drop that in. Let's make that big. Like so. There we go, something like that. And I'm going to change the interlinear space. Just there, the leading. If you come from the 17th century, welcome ye. Just there, right, okay. And we've got that. Right, so we've got that. And I'm going to save that. Okay, good. Right then. So let's go back to stand Prezzo just here. Now momentarily it's going to tell me that stuff has changed. Right, I can have a quick scan across this bar at the top here, all right, and see that there are no asterisks apart from here. That's telling me that something is not saved. Okay, so that's how I knew it was the back panel that wasn't saved, because I just did a quick scan of all the tabs, saw an asterisk, yeah, and thought that's why it's telling me that there's unsaved content. Let's do another aspect of this. All right, so there we go. I'm bringing this down here. Now, in case you're wondering why there are two, it's because the client might need to know some other pieces of information. Just doing a quick save on that. Okay, I'm going to go back to the back panels here, and then I'm going to create a temporary layer, right, like so. I mean, I could actually copy the guides layer, but I'm not going to. So this is going to be panels, and that's in caps as well, which is good for now. And then I'm going to draw a line in between these things. So I'm using the guides just there, drawing a line like so. Then I'm going to give that line an appearance, so I'm going to make it a bit wider. Let's go for something like 8 points just there. Okay, and I'm going to make it a colour that doesn't exist on that layout. It's kind of hard, blue. And I tend to, although it's not important, I tend to make these things dotted, but I'll do that on the other end. So I'm going to just copy that across like so to that guide there. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to copy those. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to my first panel here and paste. Now I only technically need one of those, so let's get rid of that one like that. And I'll also bring this up into play just here. Align that. Okay, now I'm doing to align to the top of the document. Don't forget there's bleed there as well. Okay, so let's just copy just that one. Oh, mind you, if I, there you go. There's that links panel thing again. It's going, hey, wait a minute, you've been saving stuff and things have changed. Let's get rid of the one on the left this time. And then this one here, bring that in like that. Make sure it's aligned. Good, save. And I didn't even do that on a separate layer, right? I just did it anyway. I've got those things on there. They are there temporarily, right? They now appear in here, which is great because I can use them. Okay, so what I might do is I might go ahead and line myself up more or less with one of those guides. Now the smart guides aren't going to kick in for those because they're in another document just there, but I then go ahead and get my scissors tool and I just snip away the points at the bottom here, select the stroke that's remaining, reverse this, yeah, so Shift X to swap those things over, just change the color of that and then bring that down maybe a little bit like so. Then I might come along and add some markers like this. So I thought this would have value for you, that's why I'm doing it. Right, so I'm going to add some markers like that. And that one I've got to kind of eyeball it, but if I centered it, if I got the sides right, it would work perfectly. This one will line up, the next one rather will line up because there's a document shift there. There you go. Smart Guide will kick in for that. And they're pretty much there. These ones here, because they are a corner, I tend to do those separately. So, in fact, for all of those strokes, let's catch all of those first. And let's add round end caps to them. And then I'll pick up this one and this one, like so. Then I'll change those to a dash line. I want 0 dash. Yeah, and I'm going to put maybe 10-point gap. Let's have a look at that. That's going to be too big, so let's go 3. Just there, that's much better. Okay, cool. So we've got those. And normally a key there would tell you that they're the end of the panels, right? Or the corners just there, fold line sort of thing. You could do that thing. I could bring out another one here onto the top. So if I wanted to, I could line that up, annotate that if I needed to as well. So that's how you can create that guide. Once you've done that, once you've got that guide or any guide, sometimes I do one at the bottom for the fold, for the corners, another one at the top for the panels. Depends how long and complicated it is. If it's all the way around with the door, that's when it gets super fun. Right, so now that I've done that, I can go ahead and select these things and just remove them, save the document, go to this one, pick up this thing here, delete it, save the document, go to this one here, delete it, save the document. In fact, if I go back to this one, it had its own redundant layer, so we can get rid of that as well, because you don't want to be doing it with a whole stack of things. It's saying, hey, there's been modifications, and now we've got all of that, but we can still see the artwork underneath. If you wanted to draw the panel lines in, yeah, then you've got markers there that you could do that with. Yeah, so you could just go ahead and build those lines in if you want to. And I sometimes do, I sometimes put white, or depends how it, for visibility, how it's going to work. So once you've got that, you've then got your presentation that you can save that as a PDF out of here and send that off to your client, and they've got it. Then you're in the business of creating the actual artwork, right? So you've got all of these things. Remember, these are meant to be individual panels with bleed, right? So how to do that? That's the interesting part. Now this is really easy, this one, because it's nice even splits. Before we even get to that, normally people who produce signage don't want to be getting your file and then going, we haven't got that font. I mean, it's less of a thing with Creative Cloud now, but and Adobe fonts, but they still don't want it. Yeah, they would rather that when you've set everything up, you outline it. Wow, look at that C, that is not great. Anyway, I'm only looking at the kerning there. I'm going to just go ahead and use, it's out off topic, right? But I'm going to go ahead and use the optical algorithm to see if I can get that to fix itself a little bit. There we go, good. So I'm going to outline that. Okay, Shift Command O. Wow, that is terribly built. Look at that. You shouldn't be getting that stuff on there. I might even merge the whole lot. There we are. Anyway, you'll outline all of that. You'll get all of that artwork ready to go. Sometimes even outlining strokes, all of that stuff. Right, there we are. So we've got that. So how do we do? This is what we do. Right, we go ahead and we create. Now I'm going to do this all on the same piece of art here, and then you're going to see what I do afterwards. Only because this is easy and because I've got like 7 minutes in which to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and create this panel at this size, right, and then this panel at this size. You've got basically a duplicate because this is really easy. Okay, and then one more over here, and then I'm going to use the align controls here. So align that to the right and to the top, so that's in the right place. I'm going to select all three because the sizing and the positioning has, and normally I do this numerically, by the way, I don't take any risks with doing this at all. Let's designate a key object. It can be that one on the left, just there, and then space those things with no spacing in between. So it's very important, right, that they are in exactly the right place, because otherwise your artwork is not going to match up. I also tend to actually change the color on all of these. Okay, so I've done that in that way. So how does that help me with these particular files? Well, this is how. I go to the artboard tool and I drag the artboard down like so. And I do that for each and every one of these panels. Now, if you're a stickler for things being a certain way, you can always use the artboard panel and do reorder artboards. This I'd set in a column. What's the spacing between it? I'm going to say 50 millimeters. Just there, it's not going to be enough. But anyway, you get the idea, right? So you've got those things. So then you work through these things. So I'm going to delete these two here. I'm going to delete these two here. Right, and I'm going to delete these two just here. Right, what you then do is you switch to the, well, you can select anyway, but you switch to the artboard tool, Shift O. You then say, right, fit to selected art. I'm going to go ahead and click on this one. So I held down the Command key for that. Same thing there. Right, and then just here, okay, fit to selected art. Then you no longer need these shapes here. You don't need them. So you can just select them either individually. I don't take chances with dragging these things when I'm doing this sort of stuff. I just don't because it doesn't matter, right? So you can see the artboards are all there. If I now save that out as a PDF, okay, so I'm going to do File, Save As. I'll drop it into here, so we'll call this VectorFest 2024. So we'll do Adobe PDF. Oh my word. I am going to use PDF X4 here, modified, because I want printer's marks on mine. I also want to use the document bleed settings, right? Because remember, it's meant to be sent with that scaled bleed down on it. Okay, so even the bleed there is scaled. They want 25mm, but scaled down to 25% is that value. So it tells me that may disable some things when it comes back in. Now I will probably have to bring in Acrobat from another window. There's no probably about it. But in terms of the artwork production, right, there you go. You can see that I've got, if I move through these, okay, I don't know quite why I've got that one just there. Something's gone wrong there. I think I might have just, there you go. Something has gone very wrong there. Let's have an examine on what's gone on with that. Oh, my artboard didn't change. I didn't do it on those two. I only did it on the last one. But anyway, you get the idea. If you've done that properly, that's so embarrassing. If you've done that properly, you will end up with the 3 split files in there. It's because I'm rushing because I've got to finish in 2 minutes. Got to today, meeting, all of that stuff. And there you are. That's how you do it. You create the artwork like that, and handy things to note right in there that you can create your overview PDF using the art you're making. You can do it while you're actually making the art, which is very handy and useful. Then you can do your plan diagrams and any notes inside of that in your separate document that you send over, like the Prezzo document that we did there. And then once the artwork is ready, you can do all of the things required of you: outline type, outline strokes if necessary, all of that stuff. Then you just create the number of artboards, and then, but without messing it up like I did, yeah, you go ahead and then just punch those things out. In fact, I'm going to just undo those 3 stages just here, and I am going to, because it bugs me, so I'm going to go back to this artboard here, make that active, then I'm going to hold down my command key, right? That's what I didn't do before. Fit to selected art. Now that's an artboard. I'll go ahead with this one and select that. Okay, and fit to selected art. I was so keen to get all of that that bit done that I missed that bit. I've got enough time to just output that once more. So if I do save as, effective as PDF, like there, la la la, and replace the existing one, and I'm going to go with my custom setting just there, and that, and now we should have, it'd be so funny if we haven't, there we are, we've got, oh, I didn't do it on that, oh, right, I've seemed to have strangely added, but that's, if you get a mistake happen like that, you just get rid of it. No one need ever know. But there you are, that's it. Those boards are all there. You can see if I zoom in on the top, they've got their bleed and I've put their trim marks, which some printers will want you to, some won't. So check with your printer before you do it. And that's it.